time to fall in line, people. Time to get on board the Trump train. She's like, I'm not doing it. I don't care anymore. Well, then you have failed this party. You have destroyed this party. You are the ones that now, I have to say, you lost. Now do the right thing. Just like you said to me many a time. Your guy didn't make it. Now do the right thing.
Many a time. And
let's be honest, we do take the extreme right stance here, and it's not often that the extreme right wins something within an establishment Republican universe.
And another thing that I think is funny, Gene, is a lot of these same people say they don't like Ted Cruz, first of all, because he can't get things done and he refuses to negotiate or come off his high horse or his principles, right?
Excuse me, he has the credibility now. He can now pivot if he needs to.
Well,
because he knows those people are going to be with him no matter what.
But I'm saying
they painted themselves into that corner.
This is why the moderate guys in our party hate Ted Cruz, supposedly. Donald Trump now they hate because, as someone put it in the chat room, one of our other good buddies, he went to Hillary Clinton's wedding. Well, what is it? Do you want a guy in the White House that can deal with the other side or not? I'm not convinced that shows he could deal with the other side. But I'm just pointing out the hypocrisy of a lot of people in here. You don't like... Here's the dirty secret, Gene, by the way. I know I'm cutting you over. But
no, go for it.
Here's the dirty secret that a lot of people today don't want to admit. They don't like men who are being manly. And I wrote about this in the Trump piece I did a few weeks back. Donald Trump is a man's man. He don't apologize, he don't back down, and he don't take note from anyone. Okay? I bleep myself there.
Thank you for that.
And for whatever reason, people, even in our own party, are uncomfortable with men who are being men. There's a reason why Donald Trump is whooping that ass amongst male voters. And there's more male voters voting now than they have in many a cycle. It's because they're angry, we feel forgotten about, and we feel cast aside by society and the women and the men in pantyhose that run this country right now.
You've been hoodwinked, bamboozled, run amok. Sounds familiar. You're absolutely right about this, Russ. They're coming out in droves. It's, like we said, the forgotten Americans. The Americans who have let everything wash over them. We've been talking about this on our show for years. Get active, get involved, get engaged. Well, guess what Donald Trump is doing? He's getting people active, involved, and engaged. And I gotta get mad at him just because he's not singing my tune? I mean, come on. That's not how this works. How this is supposed to work is you get behind the winner. Winners win for a reason because they're the most popular. Get behind the winner, folks.
Now, let's talk about winners, Gene, for a second here.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about the convention.
Let's talk about John Kasich. I agree. Let's talk about winners.
You know what? I want to make a rule. We only have 42 minutes left in the show that we don't say John Kasich's name again after now. Can we do that?
I can't say his name?
Let's not say his name anymore. It's like I want to vomit when I think of this guy. What is his path to victory? We'll call him JK.
What's his path to victory?
What's his path to victory?
Well, his path to hanging around right now is to win the Northeast. Because he is the quintessential Northeast Republican.
So you think he's going to beat Donald Trump in New York?
No. I think it will
Did he beat Donald Trump in Massachusetts?
No.
So where is he going to win in the Northeast?
Pennsylvania, Connecticut.
And even if he won the Northeast, what is his path to the nomination?
Brokered convention.
Oh, okay. So he's looking to steal it.
But, yeah, absolutely.
So let's talk about Ted Cruz. What is his path to the nomination?
He's going to have to get the delegates.
He's going to have to steal it.
Pledged.
Okay, he's going to have to steal it.
Or he has to beat Donald Trump straight up.
Marco Rubio, had he won Florida tonight, what was his path to the nomination?
I said Kasich. What was his path to the nomination? His path to the nomination was nowhere.
The only one mathematically possible to win the nomination with the delegates outright is Donald Trump.
If you believe polling. But I'm not so sure heads up. Here's my thing. If we end up heads up Cruz-Trump with enough delegates on the table so that it's one-on-one, the only concern for either one of them is the couch. Will people stay home and not vote for either one of them? Will the Kasich people turn out for Cruz? Will the Rubio people turn out for Cruz? He would need all of them to turn out. He can't have people stay home. That's why it's an uphill battle, because even head-to-head it's going to be tough. But that's the only way I see a path to victory for Ted Cruz is if other people get out of the way and get in line. Will that happen? Your guess is as good as mine.
Great question from the chat room, Matt Fairley. If Trump doesn't get a delegate majority, how is a brokered convention a stolen convention? Serious question. All right, well, here's how it is. Think about how delegates are selected to go to the national convention. New York State, it used to be Congress people selected the delegates to go. So every state has their own way of doing this.
Now it's county chairs.
Now it's county chairs. So first round of voting.
You are committed to the person that won your state.
So, Ted Cruz is going to get all those delegates he won in Texas, and all, proportionally speaking, whatever delegates you have.
And depending upon the 10% of superdelegates that are in the GOP side, some states bind their superdelegates also to that first round of voting. Some states don't.
Now, no one gets the magic number of 1237. Then the second round, it's brokered or open, whatever term you want to use.
Let's make a deal time.
Let's make a deal time, but those delegates are the county chairman's brother-in-law, the guy who collected signatures, the guy who gave a big campaign contribution. They get to be delegates. They're not beholden to anyone. And no one's going to tell them who to vote for. Deals are very hard to make there. So it's a free-for-all. So basically now, 2,400 Republicans will choose the next candidate. And it doesn't have to be a guy who ran.
And a state chairman may not be able to wrangle all their delegates the way that he wants them to. So there's got to be deals made within your own state first to kind of work together. And then there's got to be deals with other states to make sure that everybody goes. And by the way, this is politics because everybody's going to act honorably, right? No one's going to double deal and backbite. That never happens.
And for politics. You people from Brooklyn, just think if the state party selected our county chairman and some of our moronic district leaders to go to the RNC this year.
Those are the people going to
Those are the people going to be at the RNC. And those maniacs nationwide will choose our candidate. And who the hell do you think they're going to choose? Your guess is as good as mine. It could be Mitt Romney. It could be Rand Paul. It could be Jeb Bush, for all we know.
Could be W, for all we know.
So if Donald Trump goes in there with 1,200 and falls short of the 1,237 and doesn't walk out of that convention with the nomination, you're damn right it was stolen from him. And guess what just happened? Hillary Clinton's elected president.
The only thing I'll challenge you on is that you can't steal something that somebody didn't have already. So if he doesn't walk in with 1,237, he deserves to be in the free-for-all. He deserves to be in the pit fighting it out because he didn't come strong enough.
Gene, do you know why Rule 40, and we'll explain what Rule 40 is in a minute, was put into place by the RNC?
I'd love to know the legislative history on that, Russ. Give it to me, would you please?
Here's Rule 40. It's not legislative. It's a party rule.
I know, I'm joking around, of course.
For our non-lawyer friends out there, including myself. So Rule 40 is a rule that the RNC passed not long ago. And here's the brief history of it. So first of all, what is Rule 40? Rule 40 says that in order to even appear on the first round of voting, at the first vote that delegates will cast at the convention, candidates need to have secured a majority of delegates in at least 8 states. A majority of delegates.
Thus far, the only candidate to do that, Donald Trump.
Correct. The old rule was you only needed a plurality of delegates in 5 states.
Which, by the way, would have qualified Ted Cruz at this point.
Correct. Now, does anyone out there know why they changed that rule and when they did it?
I'm going to let Russ Gallo take this one.
Back in the day when Ron Paul was running for president, he qualified under the old rule. So what did the RNC do? Since, our friends in the chat room doesn't think that the RNC tries to steal elections.
2004 is when this was done, right?
Correct. And they saw that Ron Paul would be on the first round of balloting, and they wanted to keep him off. So what did they do? They created Rule 40 several months before the convention in order to keep Ron Paul out. That's our RNC, folks. No, they would never steal an election.
But let's give credit where credit's due. The primary season this year was set up so that anyone, including an outsider like Donald Trump, could come in and get the nomination. Give them credit for that, and also give them credit for trying to keep out as many liberals from the process as possible, especially those people at MSDNC and CDNC.
But how is the RNC keeping liberals out of the process?
Well, I mean, with the debate process and not going back to NBC after the whole...
Oh, because I was going to say, why don't we have closed primaries then? I mean, that would be a start.
Well, state by state's going to have to decide that. By the way, side note, everybody, this was the first presidential primary where North Carolina had voter ID strictly enforced. And there was stories about at least 1,000 voters that had to file provisional ballots. No stories of anybody being turned away, by the way. Just my own little pet peeve, just throwing it out there. Anyway, back to Russ's point.
Oh, real quick though, Gene. You had mentioned something that I wrote down that I wanted to challenge you on.
I wanted to give you back your point, but no
Go
problem.
ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say, back to Russ's point, the RNC may turn into the rhino-apocalypse, is what we'll call it. It will turn into something where the establishment steals back power, and if any shenanigans happen at the convention, that will be the death knell of the Republican Party nationwide. You'll see a splinter. You'll see another party emerge. There'll be a battle for another generation, in my opinion. Go ahead and challenge me now, Russ. Bring it. I want to hear what you got to challenge me with.
The Commonwealth or state of Pennsylvania is located in what part of the country?
That would be the Northeast.
Northeast. Now, you said earlier that John Kasich can possibly win.
I think he can.
John Kasich failed to make the ballot in Pennsylvania.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did. So
no, he didn't.
I don't even know what his... I don't even know what his plan going forward is.
John
Kasich has... I'm not even supposed to say his name.
Governor Kasich. Mike,
he failed to make the ballot in Pennsylvania.
Me?
They have a petitioning process in Pennsylvania, oddly enough, to get onto the primary ballot for...
well, that explains it.
And he failed to make the ballot. So... what's his strategy here?
I don't know.
Is this some kind of conspiracy, like to sort of siphon vote? Because honestly, I think he's siphoning votes away from Ted Cruz.
I need a drink.
So maybe Kasich is actually on board with Donald Trump, because obviously if you keep more candidates on the ballot, Donald Trump's going to keep steamrolling over them.
Yeah, whatever. I think you got me on that one, bro. You know what? I think this is a good time for me to pick up the remnants of that is my professionalism and take a quick break here. Actually, you know what? I'm making the call right now. Let's go commercial free, Russ. We're going to play the interview we did with Van Hipp talking about the Forgotten American and other national security concerns. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about that in the context of what's happening right now during Super Tuesday 3. Hide your wallets. We'll be back after this interview with Van Hipp, but give it a listen. Me and Amanda Cohut did this at CPAC, and I think we did a good job. Gene Baradelli and Amanda Cohut back behind enemy lines on the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, talking to our very good friend and... again, he is resetting the record for most appearances on Behind Enemy Lines. Our good friend Van Hipp. Van, always great to see you, man.
And always good to be on my favorite radio program.
Okay. I am marking that tape right now.
Not even a minute in, and we already got the love.
History right there. So, listen, congratulations on the panel that you moderated at CPAC. Tell everybody all about it.
Yeah, it was called Fighting for Victory Against Radical Islam. We had Congressman Steve King, Jim Hansen, who is from the Center for Security Policy, and Ayan Hirsi Ali, who fled radical Islamic persecution in Somalia, has come to this country, has a best-selling book out called Infidel, and just great people. And we talked about the fact that radical jihad, these people are here in this country, and we've let them in by not securing the borders. But we talked, too, about the things that we've got to do to keep this country safe, and that's really what 2016 is about, electing a commander-in-chief to keep America safe.
You know, earlier I was with Ambassador Bolton, and we were talking about the ramifications of what a Clinton presidency would do, not only for our standing in the nation, but just for our military readiness status. He's basically said it would be almost catastrophic. Do you agree with that?
Well, I tell people, and I think we have probably been remiss on the right for not telling people this would be a third Obama term. That's all you need to know. And we've already cut the U.S. Army to pre-World War II levels. You've got more ships and you've got more admirals today than you got ships. I mean, from a readiness standpoint, we're probably at our lowest levels in years. And here's a key point. People say, national security, it's going to cost money. That's what's bankrupting America. In 1960, 52% of all federal spending was for national security. Today it's down to 16%. It's all the other stuff that's bankrupting America.
We've been saying for years, Amanda, it's been not only cut through the muscle, but through the bone. Military spending. We're just not ready anymore.
No, and it's funny, but Carly Fiorina had a talking point during the presidential debates about restoring the Fifth Fleet, to bring back more of the warrior class of generals. Do you think that there's even more that we could be doing?
Oh yeah, there's a lot we can be doing, but she's right. We got too many politicians in military leadership roles instead of true warfighters. And the purpose of the military is not to conduct social experiments and do social engineering. The purpose of the military is to win wars and to protect the national security interests of our country. And the reason the states came together, the reason